Hello everyone and welcome to week 2. Sorry this video took so long to make. This match ended up getting extended into week 3 since my opponent was really busy, and so I had to do 2 matches at once and work on both videos at once, and due to some technical difficulties with the battle, this just took a while to get out. I'm sorry, but hey, it's finally here. So, let's take a look at my team prep for my week 2 opponent, Aero. So Aero has got one of the scariest teams in this entire league, specifically for me to face. He's got Rillaboom, Gigantamaxed, Spectrier, Regigigas, Rotom Heat, Goodra, Riolu, Trevenant, Galarian Weezing, Metagross, Tentacruel, and Guzzlord. Now, I know Aero made a few drops recently, but this is the team I had to face, and it was not something I was looking forward to. Galarian Weezing in particular is one of the hardest Pokemon for my team to face due to its neutralizing gas ability. You see, my team has a lot of great synergies. Steam Engine Colossal with Surf Dragapult, Beat Up Dragapult with Justified Cobalion, Berserk Moltres with Triage Comfey, and Prankster Meowstic can do some funny shenanigans. However, you should be noticing a theme here. All of these strategies rely on abilities, something that Weezing's neutralizing gas ability completely shuts down. It also shuts down Regigigas' slow start ability, which is actually really great because slow start is actually a nerf to Regigigas, and getting rid of it makes it more powerful. Aero also has the incredibly powerful duo of Metagross and Spectrier. Spectrier can use speed control and proc Metagross' weakness policy, and Metagross can Dynamax and become a real offensive threat that is super hard to KO. Aero also has Pokemon like Goodra that can be big threats for my team just because of how specially bulky they are. Rotom Heat, which can shut down my Galarian Moltres. Rillaboom, who's just got great support in Grassy Glide. And some other niche picks as well, like Riolu Coaching, which can be really scary if he gets it up. So I knew going into this battle I needed a way to get around both the Regigigas Weezing mode and the Metagross Spectre mode. That's what I was really scared about. So, to combat Regigigas and Weezing, I decided Cobalion was my best bet. It's the only Pokemon on my team that can hit Regigigas for super effective, and it can also hit Galarian Weezing for super effective while at it. Well, super effective stab, that is. Meaning it's going to be the one doing the most damage to both of those Pokemon. And while I can't use Beat Up on it with Dragapult while Galarian Weezing's on a field, I can run Swords Dance and Rage Powder with Tangrowth, so that way it can still get up an attack boost for free and end up doing damage. Then, once I've got Galarian Weezing on the field, I can use Beat Up if necessary to increase my offensive power. I also felt like bringing Comfey and Galarian Moltres was necessary to defeat the Metagross mode. Galarian Moltres is actually really good into my opponent's type matchups, which you can see here. Dark is a tough matchup for him since it's kind of an even one, and he's also really weak to the flying type, meaning that Galarian Moltres can put in a lot of work against most of his team. It's also my best answer to Metagross, and so naturally it's something I'm going to want to bring, because it's also just a great threat when Dynamaxed. To round out the team, I decided to go for Meowstic, although I wasn't sure exactly what it would do, with Dragapult being a supportive beat-up role, and Tangrowth being my next pick for redirection and stuff. I didn't exactly know what Meowstic could do to offer the team. I considered running Jolteon instead, but in the end I decided Meowstic could provide some pretty surprise factor support, and so this was the team I ended up bringing. Comfey plays a decently supportive role to Galarian Moltres in particular, with Draining Kiss to proc its weakness policy, Floral Healing to just heal it back up to proc that Berserk ability multiple times, and to be a cleric to the team. I also gave it Giga Drain as a way to work around, as just a quick priority attack. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted to run Worry Seed instead as another option to stop Weezing's ability, but I figured it was pretty niche, and that, niche, or however you pronounce it, and that another attacking move would just serve me better here. My final move was Taunt, just to stop any supportive moves from the Galarian Weezing or the Spectre or anything like that. I ran a pretty standard Galarian Moltres set with Fiery Wrath, Air Slash, Nasty Plot in case I wanted to set that up with Tangrowth for redirection and Protect. For Dragapult, I went for Will-O-Wisp, Beat Up just in case I found myself with Cobalion and no Weezing, Draco Meteor for an attack, and Protect. For Meowstic, I decided to go for a Trick Eject Button strategy, just to see if I could stop his Dynamax ever, Reflect to increase my team's physical bulk, Yawn, and Psychic. For Tangrowth, I ran a pretty standard set, Occaberry, since I predicted that my opponent would bring Rotom Heat, and I wanted to stop Aero's Rotom Heat if I could, since it was pretty good into this team. I also had Rage Powder, Giga Drain, Protect, and Sleep Powder, so a pretty standard Tangrowth set. What I brought against Guantanamo, except I don't... Wait. Yeah, it's the set I used against Guantanamo. I think I just didn't have an Occaberry. And finally, I'm bringing Cobalion with a Lumberry just to stop any Will-O-Wisps from Spectrier or Galarian Weezing. I decided to use Close Combat, Iron Head, Swords Dance for the Tangrowth strategy to get around not having Justified, and Protect. So this is the team, and now that I've covered it and my thoughts for it, let's get into the battle. Alright everyone, it's time to get into the matches. So this week we're going to be doing something a little different than what I did with my first week matches. So last week I provided live commentary and then went back and did the post-game review. However, for this week my live commentary is basically unusable. I mentioned earlier, I think in the team prep section, that I had some technical difficulties. Well, what happened was a giant storm blew through while I was having this battle, so not only did my Wi-Fi cut out at multiple points in the battle, causing there to be lots of gaps in the recordings and lots of breaks in the battle, but another thing that happened was it messed up my concentration, and my commentating wasn't as good, and there's lots of thunder in the background, so unfortunately the live commentary audio is pretty unusable. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through these battles, act like I'm spectating it from like it's live, and I'll talk about what my decision making was in the live battle, but I'll also give post-game commentary as I'll go along with that. So I'll kind of mix up the live commentary and the post-game commentary into one section this week, since I can't use the live commentary. And I hope that works for you, although I hope to return to my original method. No, wait. I will be returning to my original method for my week 3 video, which will be coming out shortly, so stay tuned for that. Alright, so this was what Team Preview looked like for me and Aero on Game 1. Now, this was basically the 6 I expected him to bring. However, I was expecting Rotom Heat over Tentacruel. So I made a mental note to focus on what the Tentacruel was doing, although I kind of didn't focus on it later in the games. And I was really worried about Regigigas Weezing, I believe, as his... Yeah, that's... Regigigas Weezing was what I was most worried about, because, like I mentioned, Weezing shuts down my abilities. Bad. So I decided to lead Cobalion and Tangrowth with, I believe, Galarian Moltres and Dragapult in the back. That way I could use my strategy of using Swords Dance, Rage Powder. Tangrowth would maybe go down. If not, I could start attacking into the Weezing slot with Cobalion, get super effective damage on both Regigigas and Galarian Weezing, take them both out, and just be able to sweep in the late game with setup Cobalion that can't really be stopped, because I also made my Cobalion bulky enough to survive Regigigas attacks. However, what ended up happening when the game started was he led Metagross Spectrier. Now, the lead I wanted to bring into this was Comfey Galarian Moltres or Tangrowth Galarian Moltres for the Metagross Spectrier duo, because Galarian Moltres demolishes both of these Pokemon. Unfortunately, Aero got me on the lead, and I felt like I was put in a sticky situation. My Cobalion can't really do too much to Metagross, because my fighting type attacks do less damage than they normally would, since Psychic resists fighting, even though it's super effective against steel, making the damage neutral. My steel attacks, which do more when I'm Dynamaxed, are resisted by Metagross, and those are the only 2 attacks I have since I'm running Swords Dance and Protect as my final 2 moves. So I was kind of put in a sticky scenario here. However, I thought Cobalion could still be good if I get it set up and then maybe bring in something to counter Metagross and Spectre lately. At that point, I really just was thinking, let's stick to the plan, but I feel like the decision I made here was decent, so I went for Rage Powder, Swords Dance like I had planned, but I was thinking just try and get Cobalion set up, outlast the Metagross, then I can go on my rampage. So he Dynamaxes, which is what I expected. Now, this shocked me. Spectre goes for Bulldoze, right, which is usually the move it uses to proc Metagross's weakness policy, so it can do extra damage. However, no weakness policy was procced here, so I was a bit confused that wasn't the item they were running. My Tangos survives the max Hailstorm. I made it super physically bulky. I get off the Swords Dance. Turn works out decently well for me. I'm shocked it's not weakness policy, though. So this turn, as you can see, I already Dynamaxed, and Metagross used Max Guard. Fortunately, however, I believe I was thinking that Metagross maybe could Max Guard, but I also figured my attacks aren't doing much to Metagross. Let's just knock out that Spectre so it can't Will-O-Wisp me or do any more Bulldozes, stuff like that. Yes, that's it. I had Lumberry so I could survive 1 Will-O-Wisp. However, if he used another one, the next turn he'd be able to burn me. So I wanted to take out Spectre before it could get a Will-O-Wisp in. So, fortunately, he used Max Guard, meaning I could kill Spectre with no problem. I go for Rage Powder again, just to stop any shenanigans Spectre or Metagross might be doing. You cover the option that he doesn't Max Guard, and I take out Spectre. At this point, the set's looking really good for me. Forgot to pause again. So, I just go for Rage Powder again, because I don't want, Cobalion taking any unnecessary damage. Unfortunately, Tentacruel goes for Sludge Bomb here, meaning that was his intended target, but I mean, what was Tangrowth going to do here anyways? So, I believe I Steel Spike the Tentacruel, just try and do as much damage to it. It resists my attacks, but I want to try and get another Steel Spike off to take as little damage as I can. At least I think that's the logic here. I could have attacked the Metagross, but no, I think I made the right call here, because Fear of the Unknown, I didn't know what Tentacruel was doing, or I wanted to get it out of the way. Metagross, I've got Galarian Moltres in the back to clean that up. It's Life Orb, so it can't get set up or anything. Quake was a bit problematic, since my main attacker in the back is a special attacker, since my Dragapult's more supportive. Fortunately, I still have my Dynamax and he does not. So he has to switch in his Galarian Weezing. However, I don't go for Beat Up because I've already got Swords Dance. I figure he might bring in Weezing. It's best to just not. I don't need to get greedy with the Beat Up because Cobalion's already doing what he needs to do. So I go for Will-O-Wisp into the Metagross slot just to try and lower its attack. It misses the Weezing, who switches in. And here I get frozen by a Tentacruel Blizzard. Thank goodness my Lumberry kicked in. And this is where killing the Spectre early really came in handy, I think. Because I took it out so it couldn't Will-O-Wisp me to get rid of my Lumberry. There was no chance I got hurt by that freeze. And now, you're watching this video, you know that the title is Weezing and Freezing. And you're like, oh, come on, Crest. That's the best you can do? Like, you're winning this set. You get frozen, but your Lumberry kicks in. Weezing hasn't really done anything yet. You're going to kill it easy with Cobalion. That really the most appropriate name for this video? I'll tell you to just wait. So yeah, the Steel Spike here, it now takes out the Tentacruel, and I feel like Steel Spike was definitely the right call there because Cobalion's probably going down soon. The Steel Spike increases my bulk, gives me chances of getting off more attacks with Cobalion, and I don't need the attack boost, but the defense boost helps me live from attacks, sent out by this Metagross, whose Aero's only last physical... It's his only damage dealer that's still around. So increasing my bulk against it really helps, gives Dragapult the defense boost, even though Dragapult's not known for being bulky. It's at 33% health. It's gonna die anyways. So Metagross protects, kind of forget my play here. Oh yeah, I think I Will-O-Wisp the Metagross, again, just trying to stop its damage output. Let bulk win the day for me. Then I believe with that play, I don't think I doubled into Metagross here. I think I Iron Head the Weezing and it lives on like 2 health. So yeah, he burns me, but I'm not sure how the attack and burn thing, like, if you're at a +2 attack, does that cancel out burn? I'm not sure, because I think it's different, but the burn doesn't matter as much because I got that Sword Stance off earlier. And Cabalion's done his job. I've got Galarian Moltres in the back to take care of these two. There's no way I don't win now. So I just go for the Will-O-Wisp, letting my Cabalion survive another turn. And unfortunately, I attack into the Weezing Protect, but I live another turn. So I just take out Weezing, try to attack Metagross, but it protects. But it does... So, yeah, I knew I could get an attack safely off into Weezing since it had just protected. And just in case, I think it was confirmed his Metagross is faster than me, so I attacked into it with Dragapult. So that way, if I attacked into Metagross with Dragapult, then I wouldn't have killed it, and Metagross could attack Cabalion before Cabalion could attack Weezing. Even though he protected there, I made the right call of attacking the Weezing so I could get it out with the fastest Pokemon on the field. And then I lost Cabalion, but we've got Galarian Moltres in the back. Beat Up, of course, isn't going to do much damage, but it doesn't need to, because Burn Metagross at that health never defeats a Galarian Moltres. So, I take Game 1, and I'm feeling pretty good, so I go into Game 2. Now, in Team Preview here, I make what I think was a smart decision at the time. I feel like I'm not sure what he's going to do to adjust to my Cabalion Tangrowth strategy, because I was expecting Metagross Spectra to be the counterplay to that, but I just beat what I thought was the counterplay with Cabalion Tangrowth. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And so I'm like, what's he gonna do? I mean, Regigigas Weezing doesn't stop that lead because that's the lead I came up with to stop it. Metagross Spectra doesn't really stop it. We just watched that interaction go down. So I feel pretty safe in going for the same lead. I'm not quite sure who I brought in the back, but I think it might be Dragapult Galarian Moltres again. And this is where I make the worst decision of the entire set so far. I see Tentacruel Spectra. I'm like, okay, not really sure what this is going to do. I think he's going to play it passively, so let's just attack into Tentacruel or sleep it. I don't remember what my decision was at the time. It was attack or sleep powder. And just protect Cabalion, keep it alive. What I should have realized, as you will soon see, actually, I'll let the turn play out. So, you know I'm going for Protect and Giga Drain or Sleep Powder into Tentacruel. This is what happens. Yep, that's... As you can imagine, Turn 1 went horribly for me. I failed to realize that what Life Orb Metagross from the first game meant. You see, if he's running Life Orb Metagross, see right here, hold on. It should, yep, the opposing Metagross lost some of its HP from Life Orb. If we go back a few turns, we can look over here, see that Life Orb is indeed the item. So why would he have Bulldoze on Spectra, the weakness policy proccing move, just a really weak move, if he doesn't have something to proc it on? Tentacruel is a poison type. I should know. I love Tentacruel. Tentacruel also has Clear Body, like Metagross. It's like a special version of the Metagross strategy. I failed to see that, and he takes out my Tangrowth, who is central to my setup strategies, and I do absolutely nothing with Cobalion to try and punish that. So, yeah. Horrible turn 1 for me. I just send out Dragapult to do beat up because I'm nervous, but he switches in Weezing, meaning I am just hurting myself. It's not a lot of damage, but yeah, as you can I didn't Dynamax there because I felt like saving it would be smart, and thank goodness I didn't too, because so here I double protect to try and stall out the final turn of Dynamax. I'm just nervous because I'm thinking I've lost this game. The storm's been going on. I've lost connection a few times. My nerves, well, not really because of the storm, because I'm fine with storms, but my nerves due to the game are on the fritz. Like when the Wi-Fi cuts out, I was just pacing around my room, taking deep breaths. It was, I was nerve-wracking. But another reason I protect was I figured he was going to hailstorm me, so I wanted to get the weakness policy off without taking too much damage, since I don't have Comb Fade proc it for me here. And then, let's see. So here I'm thinking Dragapult is really useless. I'm running a special version with Beat Up, Protect, Will-O-Wisp, Draco Meteor. It's not doing much into Weezing, so I know I need to take... What I should be thinking is that I need to take Weezing out. That's what I should be thinking. Dragapult does nothing to it. It can hit Tentacruel with Draco Meteor. I can't hit Weezing with Draco Meteor. Weezing can hurt my Galarian Moltres, but in the moment, I was terrified of that weakness policy Tentacruel. I figured, I know it gets Blizzard, that's 100% accurate. It gets one of those off, it wins. So naturally, I double targeted, I believe, with Draco Meteor and Airstream. I should have at least thrown one of those attacks into the Weezing, but Aero makes the smart play of calling the double, and he protects. Meaning, my Draco Meteor does nothing. My Airstream does next to nothing, and he can pull off a beautiful tech with his Galarian Weezing, known as Clear Smog, getting rid of all my stat changes. My speed boost to try and outspeed the Tentacruel, gone. My weakness policy proc, gone. Woohoo! So now I've just got... He switches in Spectre. I forget the play... Oh, right. I think I Airstream Weezing slot here and to just try and get rid of it, because now I know I need my boosts. I'm not letting that thing do that again. I've learned my lesson, I think. So I go for Draco Meteor into Tentacruel, take it out, thank God. And then Airstream into Spectre, nearly kill it. I would have if I had the weakness policy thing. And so then Regigigas comes out, and I double it, predicting, alright, he's going to switch Spectre for Weezing and start doing damage. Really obvious play for me to make, really adrenaline-driven, fear-driven, and so Aero makes the obvious protect call into the double again. Yeah, I Will-O-Wisp, try and nuke its damage. Dragapult goes down to Spectre. At the very least, I could have used Beat Up to try and take out Spectre, so that way it couldn't take on my Dragapult in return. Then, whatever I do with Moltres happens. But at this point, it's a 1v3, and I never win this. But Aero played really well in this game, and I just made some poor decisions. I go for the air/flinch hacks, but it doesn't happen. So I lost game 2, and at this point I was starting to get really nervous, because Tentacruel I had no prep for. I mentioned earlier that I thought about bringing Jolteon, but in the end I decided not to. That, I feel like, was the worst team-building decision I ever made. Meowstic has done nothing so far, and I don't think I brought it. In fact, I think I forgot to make Meowstic Prankster for this set, which is really embarrassing. I overlooked that so bad. So, Meowstic, absolutely useless, especially if I did make that blunder. And then Jolteon could have helped against Tentacruel. Or at least, possibly dissuaded Aero from bringing it. So then Game 3 comes, and I decide I have got to try and find some Tentacruel counterplay. I'm not sure if he would bring it twice, and I almost bring Cobalion Tangrowth thinking he's going to go for like Gigas Weezing instead, but I ultimately decide for Tangrowth Galarian Moltres to try and go for Nasty Plot, and then my plan was to go for Rage Powder twice, since odds are... No, wait, hold on. I don't know what my plan was, honestly. My plan was to oh, wait, I know now. My plan was to Rage Powder and then Airstream into Tentacruel, so I'm faster. He goes for Bulldoze and Hailstorm. That knocks out Tangrowth. Then I send in Comfey, proc Galarian Moltres' Weakness Policy with Draining Kiss, and try and take out the Tentacruel. Unfortunately, Aero makes the call of me trying to adapt the Tentacruel and doesn't bring it, and brings Gigas Weezing. So at this point, I feel like I'm losing the lead scenario. This is not what I wanted my lead to be for this pairing. Funnily enough, I actually talked to Aero a lot after this set, and it turns out he also thought this lead was bad for him. So, Game 3 starts. I go for Rage Powder and Nasty Plot. My logic is, he might Dynamax Regigigas, but I can try and live an attack with my incredibly physically bulky Tangrowth, and then get a Nasty Plot off, then go for Rage Powder next turn, get off an Airstream to outspeed, and then just start going to town with Galarian Moltres. However, Aero decides to take it slower with some Ice Punches. And Weezing goes for Will-O-Wisp, but it misses Tangrowth. So fortunately, I got off the Nasty Plot, and I Dynamax. I know Weezing can Clear Smog me, which is why I keep on going for my Rage Powders with Tangrowth. And here I'm going for Airstreams to try and take care of Regigigas. However, Aero makes a really smart play that confuses me. He hasn't Dynamaxed yet, which kind of shocked me. And if you go back and look at Game 1, Game 2, he Dynamaxed first turn, both of them. The Tentacruel Dynamax first turn, and then the Metagross Dynamax first turn. So here, him taking it slower kind of threw me off guard. I expected a more offensive-oriented gameplay from him. However, Weezing stays around, stops abilities from working, allowing Regigigas to do more. Fortunately, Tangrowth still survives, and I start trying to target down Weezing, so that way I can get Regigigas' slow start procced. My speed increases, so I'm now the fastest on the field. I take out the Weezing. Slow start kicks in, allowing Tangrowth to survive yet another Ice Punch, which I actually think is not good, because having Comfey in here, instead of Tangrowth this next turn could be beneficial. So now Aero sends in Tentacruel and Dynamaxes it. And this late game Dynamax can really help him, because my Dynamax is about to be over, meaning Tentacruel can start hitting my lower health Galarian Moltres, because, it doesn't have the Dynamax health boost, and it possibly survives some attacks from it, even though it's got huge boosts. I go for Rage Powder again and Darkness into the Tentacruel, because, again, I'm really scared of it after that game, too. And I think, you know what? Tangrowth has got just enough HP. He can take a hit from Tentacruel. He'll get knocked out, but it keeps Galarian Moltres safe and healthy. So, Tentacruel goes for the Geyser, taking out... I'm not sure why he didn't go for Hailstorm here. Maybe he didn't want the chip on his Pokemon, but... Not sure why. Probably to boost stab, but maybe to just boost the stab attacks, but I think Hailstorm might have been the better call there. I'm not sure. But then, unfortunately for me, Regigigas throws out an Ice Punch, and you're like, okay, Crest, I get it. He's used a lot of ice-themed attacks. The Tentacruel used lots of Hailstorms game 2, but how is this set called Weezing and Freezing? He froze my Galarian Moltres. Now, Aero, I know, feels kind of bad about this, and I don't, honestly. I feel like this game was still winnable for him, even if he hadn't frozen me. And I'll just let the rest of the game play out while I'm talking this. It did proc my weakness policy, but now that I'm frozen, I've got to bet on a first turn thaw. So yeah, I didn't have any attacks on my Galarian Moltres that could guarantee thaw me out faster. So I needed to get really lucky to thaw out, and I let the turn play out. I didn't. I tried to protect, but my Giga Drain with Comfey did pitiful damage. I kind of regret putting it on there. Max Geyser and Ice Punch take out Galarian Moltres, and I am left with Dragapult and Comfey in the 3v2. Now, I want to say I pull off a miraculous comeback, rally this back, and win this. I don't. Aero played really well in this set. He outled me every single game, in my personal opinion, even though I know he feels differently about Game 3. And he managed to take the set off me, putting me at 1 win, 1 loss for the season. And I'll just let all the attacks play out here. Slow start ends on the Gigas, and it's over. I just can't do damage with these two Pokemon. Shadow Ball and Ice Punch threaten everything. I try to burn Regigigas, but it's Lumberry, like I predicted, because I know Aero likes running Lumberry Regigigas from the sets I studied, and I lose the set. Now, I know Aero, at least until I gave him a little sermon, thought this was a lucky win for him. I actually don't mind losing the set at all. I do not think this was a luck-based set by any means, and I don't want any of you guys in the comments or anybody who's in the Discord with us harassing him for this win. I really think Aero deserved this W. Not only do I still think he could have pulled it out despite the freeze if he played really well, because my attack was way lowered with Galarian Moltres once my Dynamax came off, because Fiery Wrath has the doubles damage reduction due to it being a spread move, because spread moves do less damage in doubles, and then the max move power is also a lot higher than Fiery Wrath's actual power. So while I did get an extra special attack boost, my attack actually went down a lot, and I doubt Comfey would have made much of a difference in that, because we saw a critical hit. Giga Drain did 10% to the Tentacool. So I still think Aero might have possibly won that Game 3 otherwise, and honestly, he just played a lot better than me. In Game 2, he made a lot of great calls to stop me. Game 1 was really close. Game 3 was really close. This was a really close set, in my opinion. And honestly, even if this was a luck win, I don't mind having the RNG be against me sometimes. I tend to be incredibly lucky in Pokemon battles, like to a fault. My friends can tell you stories of times where I've gotten 9 air slash flinches in one battle, 4 of them in a row. I have gotten a critical hit, burn, Blaze Kick. So I had Zero Aura in one battle, use Blaze Kick on a Electivire that my friend had. Little did I know that Electivire actually learns Earthquake, so that was my friend's counter to Zero Aura. Not only did I crit the Blaze Kick, nearly knocking the Electivire out, I also burned it so my Zero Aura easily survived the Earthquake, when it might have knocked out otherwise. So the RNG Jesus has been in my favor way too many times in the past. I'm okay with losing a set to it, even though I still think Aero could have possibly won, even without that frozen Ice Punch. So, yeah, what I need to do is learn from my mistakes. There's a lot I could have done better against Aero, such as not letting my nerves get the best of me, making sure I think out every part of my team, like Meowstic, that was a real huge stumble in the team preview, and making sure I always think about what my opponent's Pokemon are doing. I completely ignored Tentacruel and kind of forgot about the Life Orb Metagross, and that is what cost me Game 2, putting me in the scenario where I ended up losing Game 3 to a freeze. So, I feel like my loss in this set was super preventable However, you guys can see how I'll try and rebound from that in my Week 3 video, which will be coming out soon. So, I will see you then.